Hi, I'm Jackie Topa, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make all of these bows. And on my blog, jackietopa.com, I have a document with instructions and some pictures that you can use as a quick reference to make them. Okay, this is the bunny ear bow. You're going to start off with 12 inches of ribbon, and you're going to want something soft so you can work with this. So you make 2 good sized loops, and then you have to tie the whole thing in a knot. And your knot is going to be fairly large on this too, so you don't want something, if you're trying to avoid bulk, this isn't a good choice for ribbon, or good choice of bow, I should say. And you just straighten it out until you get it the way you want it. That's the bunny ear bow. Okay, this is the Loopy Bow, and you're going to need 2 pieces of ribbon, one about 6 inches and one about 30 inches. You can make it longer or shorter depending on how many loops you want, and you just wrap it loosely around your fingers. And I like my ends to be pointed in opposite directions once I'm done wrapping. So just do that, and then take the short piece. Doesn't even matter if they're not the same length. Take the short piece, tie it around the center. And I like, once I have that wrapped around, I like just holding it all in one hand like that. And I usually use my teeth on the other end, but if you have a friend, you can get them to pull that for you. Okay, this is a sticky strip bow, and I'm going to use this ribbon. You need 2 pieces 6 inches long, and I'm going to use this ribbon, although it's retired. This was always one I had trouble making a bow out of. It's kind of stiff. So, another tip too, when you're working with ribbon, the reason you cut it at an angle isn't just for looks, it stops it from fraying, because if you go straight across, then your threads start going. Okay, so I've got my tag ready to go here. Move that out of the way. If you want to know how to make these tags, I have a video showing how to make them with the envelope punch board. Okay, so we have our, I'm going to stick this down so the top tail is a little longer than the bottom. And I'm going to stick this down. Just going to do that. You know what, this is narrower ribbon than I used originally, so I'm just going to cut that a smidgen shorter. Okay, so you're going to stick that down in a big loop. And we'll do the same on the other side. So you're stuck down to your ribbon, and then you just tie a knot over your loop. This, I like this bow because it kind of helps your ribbon all go in the same direction. And if it's one that you have trouble tying, it works out perfect. And then just trim your ends. I think I'll have that showing. This is the 2-4-6 bow. So you need 3 pieces, 2, 4, and 6 inches long. And I would use glue dots for this normally, but just to make this faster, I'm going to use my snail. So you just make loops from the 6-inch and the 4-inch piece. The 4-inch piece on top of that. Make sure it's centered. Yeah, I don't know how long snail would hold on here, but I guess if you did that part with snail, it'd be quicker, and then this piece gets stuck down anyway. And then you just wrap that around the center. And that's it for the 2-4-6 bow. And if you want to add an end, before I put that on, I'm going to show you. To make your tail, just fold your ribbon in half. This piece is about 5 inches long. And you just cut from the end to your fold to make your tails. So we'll just lay that underneath, and then we'll wrap that around. If you need to, which we will, I'll just trim that end a little bit. Like I said, I like cutting at an angle so that my ribbon doesn't fray. And then just wrap that around to the back of your bow. I use this bow, the tiny bow, every time I have to tie a small bow, like with the 1/8 inch ribbon. And I'm going to show you with our linen thread. So you just tie a bow like you normally would. And I leave it on the spool because otherwise you'll get a lot of waste from the other end. This way I only have waste from one side. So you tie a bow, and then before pulling it tight, you loosely hold the knot, and then just pull the ends to make the loop smaller. And then you tighten the knot a little bit more, and you just keep doing that until the bow is the size that you want it. You can get it pretty small like that. And then when you get it to the size you want, you just pull it tight. And that's it. How cute is that? Okay, these are brad bows. And it's just a bow stuck through a brad. So it's pretty simple, and I'll show you how to do that. I take my piercing tool, and the back of the brad, I spread it out. Spread your prongs before you get your loop all, or your bow all ready to go. Otherwise you need 3 hands. And here's my ribbon. It's 7 inches long, or 6 inches I think this one was. So you just form a loop, and then you kind of squish it together a little bit, because then what you want to do is put all those layers, you stick your bow in the inside of your brad, and then you just pinch it back shut, poke a hole in your project, and you insert that. Now to make a double loop, you just do 2 loops. Oops. Fingers aren't working today. Again, squish it up a little bit, and I've got my brad all ready to go. These glimmer brads work great for this because they spread really nicely. So, and the double loop bow is a little bit harder. So just work with your layers once you get that in. Now you can also just make a loop if you don't want a really frilly card. Just make a loop and put that through your brad. Just adds a little bit to your project. Okay, I'm going to show you how to make a 1 loop bow. You're going to measure your ribbon by whatever your project is. You go around your project, so I need that much to go around, plus an extra 8 inches. So you're just going to tie it as if you were tying a bow, and it doesn't even matter where you are on your project, because you can adjust it after. So just tie a regular bow as if you were tying a shoe. And when you go to pull your loops, just pull one of them through and then tighten it. I have to hold my knot, and oops, I got that twisted a little, so we'll just untwist that and just tighten it. And then just adjust it where you want it. You can put some snail on the back to hold it in place if you'd like. Trim the ends, and you're finished. Okay, these are finger bows, and they're my favorite because they always turn out nice, and I always have my fingers with me. So take your hand, and you're going to hold one end between your thumb and your hand, and wrap it around your fingers as if you were wrapping a scarf. Then you're going to take the other end and stick it through the hole between your fingers, and then you just tie the ends. Tie them in a knot around the loops. You slide it off your fingers, and you have a perfect bow. Okay, usually. Okay, this is the fork bow, and I'm going to show you on a meat fork just because it's a little bit easier to see. So you're going to use the same idea as the finger bow. You're going to wrap your ribbon around the fork as if it was a scarf, and then stick it through the prong in the center. The top loop goes through the prong, and then you wrap it around, and then you just tie it in a knot. Now, while it's still on the fork, you would pull it tight and adjust your bows down if you wanted, like a regular bow. Before I pull that tight, I'm going to show you how to do a straight one. Just if you pull it straight out, your ends will stay that way. And then you take some Big Shot adhesive, stick that down, and I don't have a card to put this on, so I'll just pretend. And you just stick it to your project. You can make it longer and wrap it around the ends, or you can have your tails. And that is the fork bow. This is the Stiffy Bow. I would use this for ribbon that's just too stiff to tie. So I have a piece 12 inches, 14 inches, and 3 inches. And you just make a loop. And you also need a piece of wire, or a twist tie would work well for this as well. So and I would also use a glue gun probably to hold this. So once you have your loops done and wired, then you're just going to take your other tail and just twist that onto the bottom. I'll just wrap it around like that. Doesn't matter if your wire is showing, because you're going to have a piece around the center. So, and if this is going to be a larger bow, something you might hang and put some embellishments on, then you can use your wire to make a loop. Got that all wrapped on there. Now if this is too wide to go around the center, which on my other piece I thought it was, I would take some sticky strip. Let's see if I can get my snail. It's not going to go on there. And just fold the ends in like that. Or if you want, you can fold it in half, and then you just wrap that around the center. And like I said, I would use a glue gun for this part. And that's it for a Stiffy Bow. Okay, this bow is one of my favorites for class, because I can just tie the bow on the spool, and it's self-adhesive. I just peel it off, stick it to my project, and I'm done. So my customers really like this in classes. So all I do, I leave my ribbon on the spool, and you just tie a bow. You can do a finger bow, or you could just do a regular bow, and I just tie my bows while I'm watching TV. And you can keep pulling and adjusting until you get your bow looking like you want it. Snip off your ends if you didn't lose your scissors. And then I always have a 1-inch strip of adhesive, and then you stick it down. So I just line them up and lay them on the table at my Stampin' Stacks. The nice part about this is not only there's a little bit of adhesive on the back of the bow, but there's also some on the tail. So when you have wonky tails that are going every which way, they stay where you put them. And I think that's it for our bows.